Well, the video you've all been waiting for is finally here. I've made many promises to you guys that I'd rank my top favorite roller coasters when I came back from Europe. And although it took a little bit longer than I expected, blame that on how difficult it was to rank these 50 rides against each other. I love every coaster in my top 50, matter of fact I love every coaster in my top 150, so deciding which ones would make the cut and deciding how to order them, especially as you get to the top of the list, is very difficult. However, I accumulated a top 50 list that I can get behind and I hope you all can too. Then again, an opinion's an opinion, so if you don't like it, that's too bad. Now, I've ridden 640 roller coasters as of when this video is being recorded. The majority of these rides, 432 to be exact, are in the United States of America, but I've also ridden coasters in Germany, Poland, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Switzerland, Mexico, and Canada. I'm definitely proud of my travels thus far, and I'm also proud of what coasters I've been fortunate enough to experience over the years. So with that being said, let's waste no more time and begin my ranking of the top 50 roller coasters I've ridden. Note that this video will be a part 1 of 2, aka spots 50 to 26. The next video that comes out will be part 2, spots 25 to 1, so stay tuned for that one. Anyways, kicking things off is number 50, Tremors at Silverwood in Idaho. This CCI wood coaster used to be lower in my rankings, but I've raised it a lot higher because every time I look back at my rides on Tremors, I get so amped up and it reminds me of how fun this coaster is. In the back row, I love the drop and so many of the airtime hills going through the tunnels, and I also love how the track switches from wood to RMC hybrid track as the two sections ride wildly different. Number 49 is Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. Admittedly, I owe this coaster re-rides because I only had the chance to do it once, and because it was cold and rainy, I'd imagine it wasn't running at its fullest potential. From what I can remember, the camelbacks deliver pretty solid airtime, but nothing else really did anything for me. But things change, and I'm hopeful that it'll rank a lot higher once I eventually get back on it. Number 48 is Boss at Six Flags St. Louis. A rather polarizing one. Many of you are probably scratching your head wondering why Boss is anywhere close to my top 50. But when I think about the kind of coasters I love, many of them display intense power. Boss does this better than almost any wood coaster I've been on. It absolutely shreds through its first and second half, not as much to the middle section dividing the two halves though, that was unfortunately trimmed to death, but I can look past it and acknowledge the intensity and pretty crazy laterals that you experience throughout the rest of the layout. Number 47 is Taran at Phantasialand in Germany. Our first international coaster to make this list is one that I do find to be a little bit overrated, but it still makes my top 50, so I think it's a great ride. My favorite thing about it is probably its interaction with Klugheim because of how it dives over and under pathways and has all these crazy near-miss elements. But I also really enjoyed the layout and how it feels like one continuous spaghetti bowl. Fun airtime, fast transitions, really enjoyable coaster. Number 46 is a rather deceiving ride, Phoenix at Canobie. This classic PTC coaster opened in 1947 at a park called Playland in San Antonio, Texas, but has since been relocated starting in 1985. Despite its age, Phoenix offers a better, smoother ride than most Woodies 2 times its size. The ride's buzz bar restraints allows you to fly out of your seat airtime hill after airtime hill after airtime hill. It doesn't get much more fun than Phoenix. This ride is awesome. Another wooden coaster takes the number 45 spot, Boulder Dash at Lake Compounds. This ride has one of my favorite layouts I've ever experienced, entirely built on the hillside. Randomly, you might be rising up the hill or dropping further than you expect because the entire ride is based around the terrain. But it's not just the layout that's awesome, Boulder Dash also delivers tons of airtime and some very powerful laterals as well. All around, it's a great standout attraction for the small New England amusement park, great forces, awesome ride. Our first RMC to make this list is number 44, Medusa Steel Coaster at Six Flags Mexico. I find that this coaster lacks the airtime strength many of the RMC coasters offer, however it compensates with a very unique layout and terrific pacing. Medusa has a relatively consistent layout with low-to-the-ground swooping turns and funky inversions. I love this ride's layout and I think it's a great fit for Six Flags Mexico. Number 43 is Piraten at Djur Sommerland in Denmark. This little Intamin coaster is much more intense than it looks. The ejector airtime Piraten gives its riders is absolutely ridiculous and the ride doesn't give you a chance to breathe. But I love how energetic it is and it's for that reason that it's one of my favorite Intamin coasters I rode in Europe. 42 is one of the most underrated roller coasters in the United States, Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove in New Jersey. I haven't ridden this thing since 2020, so I'm definitely due for some re-rides. I wholeheartedly think Gale Force could rank even higher than it does now because I was blown away by this ride when I rode it. The airtime was wacky but strong, the forces are underrated, and you get to go through the layout 2 whole times. This thing is incredible. Number 41 is my favorite Mexican roller coaster, Superman El Ultimo Escape at Six Flags Mexico. This Morgan hypercoaster truly has an unprecedented variety of forces, some of the best laterals in the world, incredible sustained ejector airtime, and a completely trimless ride experience. I really don't understand how this ride exists because it is so much better than the ground-up Morgan hypers we have in the US. Ironically, my favorite Canadian coaster takes the number 40 spot, Levithan at Canada's Wonderland. The lowest ranked ranked Giga Coaster I've ridden is still an absolutely fantastic ride. Levithan in the front row is an absolute speed demon with blistering pacing for the majority of the layout. I really like the mix of low to the ground and high off the ground elements, as it creates a fairly diverse layout for the ride genre. Next up, at number 39, is a surprising one, Tornado at Bakken in Denmark. This is personally my favorite roller coaster in the country. Pretty weird how my top Mexican, Canadian, and Danish coasters rank beside each other. Tornado is able to accomplish this ranking with a ride on boost mode, where the trim brakes aren't on and the ride is spinning much faster. This was easily one of the most unbelievable ride experiences of my life because I could not believe what was happening. I couldn't process it. So definitely if you're there and you want an intense ride, ask for boost mode. You will not regret it, if that's your kind of thing. Another one that you may not expect is number 38, Aftershock at Silverwood. This rare ride model is by far one of the best cloned coasters in the world. Insane positive Gs, whippy inversions, and some crazy vertical lift hills and drops. Aftershock is unique and it's all sorts of messed up, but its display of power is the very reason I love it as much as I do. At number 37 is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm, a rather beloved attraction, and rightfully so. This coaster is the complete package for a Woody, with sustained airtime, pops of airtime, intense laterals, and a very long ride time. It's also extremely smooth, which isn't always the case with CCIs, but we have GCI to thank for that, as their restoration efforts were incredible in the 2015-2016 seasons. Number 36 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City in Missouri. I think I gained more appreciation for this ride after getting on Ride to Happiness in Belgium, the second mock extreme spinning coaster that opened after the success of this one. While the intensity between the two rides is a night and day difference, Time Traveler still does an incredible job at showcasing the model's potential. Great theming, awesome terrain usage, and just pure fun elements. What's not to love? Number 35 is my favorite B&M hypercoaster, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. The fact that rides like Mako didn't make my top 50 should tell you a thing or two about how much I love this ride. Goliath is so much more intense than some of these other B&M hypers, and part of the reason is because it actually has sustained ejector airtime. All of the camelbacks at the end and that speed hill going into the brake run are absolutely amazing. That, and you also have my single favorite turnaround section on any B&M, which differentiates Goliath to its sister coasters around the world. This thing is a gem, and I don't think it gets nearly enough recognition in the coaster community. Number 34 is a ride that I've moved up quite a bit on my list, and that's Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. As more time has passed since I last rode this coaster, it continued to slip further and further down my rankings. But remembering how blown away I was by this ride's intense ejector airtime is persuading me to give it a spot it deserves. Sure, the first half might not be my favorite thing in the world, but that second half is a goldmine for ejector airtime lovers like myself. I definitely owe this one some rewrites as well. My favorite GCI takes the number 33 spot on this list, Gold Striker at California's Great America. This ride's pacing and overall display of power is the reason it ranks so much higher than all of the other GCIs I've ridden, with the exception of Ghost Rider if you count that. But even so, I rank this as my favorite wooden roller coaster west of the Mississippi above Ghost Rider. This coaster shreds through its layout at an absolutely absurd rate, and that's something I absolutely love to see. I love how the beginning of the layout stays low to the ground and then the rest is more traditional of GCI. Not a bad thing at all, just incredible overall package. Now our next three coasters are all very similar to one another, and some of you may even consider these to be worthy of the exact same placement on this list. At number 32 is Stunt Pilot at Silverwood in Idaho, the most different of the prototype RMC Raptor coaster layouts. This one has slight track adjustments to accommodate the slightly longer train, which was done to increase capacity. In some ways, these adjustments made elements like the dive loop a little less intense, but in other ways made elements like the twisted airtime hill even more intense. Therefore, I'd consider it to about cancel out and be even with the others. I'll talk more about what makes these clones so great once I proceed with the next two spots. Speaking of, number 31 is Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This was my first time riding one of these single rail coasters, and I actually could not believe how fast-paced and whippy it was. Even as a thrill seeker who loves the utmost intense coasters, it was challenging for me to marathon Wonder Woman due to its intensity. Same thing goes for number 30, Railblazer at California's Great America. I only ranked this a spot higher since I found it to run slightly smoother, but the forces, pacing, and layout remain the exact same. This thing has some rip-your-face-off elements that thrash you around and give you no time to breathe. I know that might not be something everyone will enjoy, but me personally, I can't get enough of it. Moving on to the original coasters, number 29 is Fluke von Navrat at Hansapark in Germany. This ride absolutely blew my expectations out of the water. I was not expecting it to rank so high. The launch is one of the most insane in the world, the airtime moments are pretty significant, and the theming tops it all off. With such an elaborate and dark theme, I was impressed by Hansapark's ability to merge that with intense thrills. Not many rides out there can accomplish that, and as you'll find out in part 2 of this list, Hansapark has another coaster also built by Gerstlauer that does it even better. Number 28 is Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City, a ride that's grown on me over time. It's one of those coasters where the more I think about it, the more eager I am to get back on it. It's not a perfect ride by any means, as it has a short layout and hang time focused inversions, sections that I'm not as high on as other people, but everything about it gets me pretty hyped up. I love Outlaw Run's energetic pacing, I love its overall feel with the wooden texture of the track, and I also love its various airtime moments. More RMCs take the next few spots, first at number 27 with Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is easily one of the most unique hybrid coasters the manufacturer has built, combining a dual-track racing coaster in one Mobius circuit. Racing the other vehicle through an already epic layout with amazing airtime and pacing twice is absolutely incredible and a one-of-a-kind. I love Twisted Colossus and I'm grateful that it's so close to home. Our last coaster to make the first half of my list is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. Some people will tell you that this ride has weaker pacing and less prominent elements than many other RMCs, but I'm happy to say that that could not be me. I got on Wicked Cyclone on a very rainy day and it was running fast, I think because the track was so wet. Even towards the end, I found that it packed in some awesome airtime in addition to its graceful inversions and really long ride time. I look forward to seeing how it is when I get back on it at some point, but yeah, it was amazing when I got to do it. Anyway, stay tuned for part 2 of this list, featuring my top 25 favorite roller coasters I've ridden. Trust me, things are about to get interesting, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you all so much for watching the prequel. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a like and subscribe, as it seriously helps the channel out. See you guys in no time for my long-awaited top 25 favorite coasters list. Bye guys.